this classic Sergei Lavrov, look over there, look over there?
I was just about to say that. This is classic Lavrov, and he is trying to say, let's stop talking about the mutiny, let's stop talking about if it was a coup or not, where the missing generals are, where Prigozhin is now. Let's focus on the good old geopolitics, and let's talk about how evil the West is, and let's bring China back into the mix, and try and drive a wedge between the West and countries in Africa and in the Middle East who don't have access to the UN Security Council.
Do we have any answers to those questions? For example, where are the two missing Russian generals? Where is Prigozhin?
We still don't know where General Surovikin, who is accused of supporting the coup, is, and we don't know where Valery Gerasimov is either. There are rumours that Surovikin has been arrested, but that they have been denied by the Kremlin, and we just haven't seen them for several days, which is odd, but we can't say for certain what's happened to them.
And Prigozhin? I mean, he was in Belarus. Do we know he's still there?
Well, Prigozhin's aircraft was in Belarus, and then it went to Moscow, and we assume he didn't go back to Moscow. So we don't know where Prigozhin is with certainty either. I mean, I think it's unlikely that he's still in Russia. He could be in bases in Ukraine, or he may be holding out in Belarus for the moment.
How much of a challenge and a threat is there still for Putin? Obviously, the immediate threat of what happened last weekend, sitting here on air thinking, gosh, is this the fall of Putin? That immediate threat has gone, but lots of people talking about the beginning of the end. I mean, where do you sit on this?
I think it's undermined him dramatically. He's not the all-powerful leader that he set himself up to be. You can march on Moscow and then survive and escape and live another day, and that is not the action of a strong man. So people will be wondering what's next. And there are already people who have been talking about Putin as a grandfather figure and a senile figure, and those voices are starting to get louder and get more support.
I'm interested as well. I mean, the Pentagon was reporting this morning that the Wagner group is apparently still in Ukraine. There have been other reports saying they're still recruiting. I'm just wondering what their role can be in Ukraine. I mean, you're a former Kyiv correspondent. And also, can Prigozhin actually still control them? They're mercenaries at the end of the day.
Right. Well, the Wagner Group is incredibly important to Russia because of its operations in Africa and the Middle East. And there isn't a way to exchange Wagner for another group of mercenaries. So even if they wanted to dismantle Wagner, they wouldn't be able to do it overnight, and they'd have to leave some of the power structures in place and probably try and rebrand it with using some of the leaders that they trust. And Prigozhin has been really instrumental to that because he's been working on lots of things that the mercenaries do, but also lots of things that they do to amplify disinformation in Africa. So it's difficult to take him out of the picture quickly, which is, I think, why they've stumbled on how to deal with him.
Right, okay. And counteroffensive in Ukraine? I mean, obviously there was hope last weekend that there could be a real push forward with Wagner obviously concentrating on Moscow. We haven't seen huge strides forward, have we, in the last week?
Well, even if Prigozhin had sat in Rostov-on-Don for a week, that would have massively disrupted the supply lines. It's a really important military hub for Russia's effort in Ukraine. So the short-term nature of it meant that it hasn't provided that level of disruption. But it has obviously affected morale in the Russian ranks, which is already very low. And they've got to be worrying about what's happening in our rear. Can we rely on logistics? Can we rely on supplies? And plus, you have Prigozhin coming out and saying, actually, the things that you're fighting for in Ukraine are all bogus. There is no Nazification of Ukraine. There is no militarization before the war. We've started this bloodshed for no reason. And that's really got to play on Russian morale.